What's cooking, Timberwolves? All right, so today what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how to wash dishes. Wow! Awesome, right? Okay, so there is a specific way to wash dishes. A lot of people don't realize this, but it'll make everything much faster, go much better, and you'll have cleaner water for longer, which is awesome. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the order of washing dishes. I'm also going to show you how to fill up your sink and the order of your sinks. And you, in exchange, after all of this is done and after you viewed this amazing video, are going to wash dishes at your house. I know your parents are probably like, yes. Okay, so here's the deal. There should not be more than a couple minutes, but I do need you guys to pay attention because if you are going to be cooking in my lab again, you need to make sure that you've got this down, okay? And every year I see kids that wash dishes in cold water with their hands and no soap, which is really gross, okay? So I want to make sure that you guys have got this down, okay? So for starters, let's start at the beginning. This is a dishcloth, okay? We use dishcloths. I love dishcloths. Some of you guys use scrubber brushes and stuff like that at home. I find scrubber brushes are really hard because they get food trapped, so you have to make sure that they stay really clean. But these dishcloths are awesome. They're very rough, they're small, and they get into different tight spaces, and you can kind of use them as you need to. They're very flexible, okay? We wash dishes with these. This is a towel. It's a dish towel. It's big. We do not wash dishes with this, okay? Because it soaks up water. That's its job. So if you put it into the sink, it'll soak up your water and it really won't scrub very well, okay? So I've got my 1-in-1. That's all I'm really gonna need. You wanna make sure you've got clean stuff when you guys are washing dishes. So clean dishcloth, clean towel, and I'm gonna use that to dry. In a perfect world, you would air dry, okay? But when we're in the classroom, we don't have a lot of time, okay? And you guys might have the same thing at home, right? All right, so got this there, I've got my sinks. Now for my sinks, I have a 2-sink system, okay? If you guys have one large sink at home, you guys can always just have like a bin in there, but typically how you set this up is you've got a washing sink, which is hot soapy water, as hot as you can handle it. We always use hot water because it kills bacteria and it makes sure that the dishes get really clean, okay? Do not wash in cold water. Then we've got a rinsing sink, and that again, we rinse in hot water. We do not rinse in cold. That again helps to kill off bacteria, and it also helps your dishes dry faster. The last thing we've got is this lovely draining rack, and it's a draining rack because it allows water to drain out afterwards. So we have these trays that have a lip right here. We need to make sure that this lip is over top of our sink so that when we're done, we can tip it and the water will drain out, okay? And we use these wire racks, and we also have this utensil tray in order to wash our dishes in the classroom, okay? So here's the deal. The biggest tip or the biggest secret to washing dishes is always to wash the cleanest items first. Now, the big important factor with this is to make sure that you scrape your dishes properly. So you can use a rubber spatula, or this is a pastry scrape, and we use this for dough. And scrape all your dishes really well and put the excess into the garbage. That way you don't have anything that goes down your sink, okay? I end up having to plunge stuff if it gets gunked up, and at home you're in the same position, okay? So we've got to make sure that whatever dishes we do wash, they've been scraped out really well beforehand or soaked, okay? So if we have something that's caked on to, say, a pot, we're gonna soak it with hot soapy water, and I usually put that in my rinsing sink, and I let it sit for as long as possible before I wash it, all right? When it comes to filling your sink, all right, what we need to make sure is that we're not wasting too much water. Halfway is the most you're gonna need. I usually recommend a quarter of the way into this, and you wanna make sure that your soap is at the very end so that you don't have any suds or bubbles. That's Mr. Clark, by the way. He's making an appearance in this video, okay? That's okay. He's lovely, and he's gonna be your computer teacher. Okay, so we're at the sink, soap at the very end. So I'm gonna get my sink, and I'm gonna get my tap, and I'm gonna get my sink ready for this, okay? So I'm gonna turn my water on. I'm gonna go as hot as I can go. And these are stoppers that we use in the classroom, okay? We do not take them out of the sink ever unless they're dirty and we need to get rid of the garbage that's there, or the excess food that's there, okay? So when I'm ready, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna twist it, okay? And I'm gonna allow my sink to fill up. Now, again, I'm not putting soap in at this point. I don't want a bubble wonderland because that's actually super unsafe when I go to wash my dishes, okay? So I'm gonna go all the way up to about 1/3 or 1/2, all right? And that allows me to have just enough water to wash, but not so that like I'm splashing around as I go and wash my dishes. Once I turn my sink off, that's when I'm gonna add my soap in, and I only really need 1 pump, okay? When you guys are in the lab, you guys will be using this dish soap, okay? We reuse these bottles, all right? But you only really need 1 squirt, that's it. All right, so I've got my water. I'm just gonna show you guys. Okay, that's it. And what it allows me to do is I can see all the way down to the bottom then. And that is much more safe, okay? Just in case something does end up falling in. Now, we'll go over knives as well and how we wash those. But what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna group my stuff. So this is all my stuff that I have here that I need to wash, okay? And I'm gonna group it to see what needs to be washed first. So out of this stuff, what do you guys think? What should I wash first? What do you think is the least dirty? Well, they're all clean because I've washed them, but typically we start with glassware. So we start with glassware that has been used for like water or juice or whatever. If it's been used with oil, so if I have like Pyrex dishes that had oil or whatever, it goes further down, okay? So oil is one of those ones, and butter, anything with fats is one of those ones where I want to make sure that it goes down, because if it gets into my water, it gets super gross and then I can't really use it, okay? Get that stationed. Perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna grab all of my my glassware. I'm gonna put it all in the sink all at the same time, okay? Allow it to soak. I am then gonna grab my dishcloth. I'm gonna get it wet, and I'm gonna wash my dishes in the sink. I see a lot of people washing them up here, right? I don't know why, but you wanna wash them underneath the water, okay? Because you're gonna use that hot water to kind of get it clean. Now, with glasses, I tend to see a lot of this. You take soapy water, you swirl it, and then that's it. Please don't wash like that, okay? We wanna make sure that we get all the way around the lip, right? Or where people tend to drink from, all right? So once I've got that, I've got it clean, I'm gonna rinse off, and then I am going to grab this dish, okay? And I'm going to clean this one as well. All right? Just getting all sorts of interruptions, that's fun. That's how you know that this is real, okay? All right, so once I've done my glassware and all that stuff, I am then going to move on to my next, usually cleanest items, and that's gonna be my cutlery, okay? So if I have used my rubber spatula, but I didn't use it for butter or anything like that, I'm gonna put it in then. Any other utensils or measuring tools that I've used, I can put it in then, and I'm gonna put them all into the sink at the exact same time, okay? Once I've got that, I'm gonna take them individually, make sure that I wash them really, really well, all right? And then I'm going to rinse them all together. I've got them in my hands, rinse them in hot water. When they go into my utensil little bin here, I'm gonna put them head up, which a lot of you guys might not do. You guys might do head down. The reason why I do it head up is to allow it to drip dry, okay? The other thing is a lot of these utensil holders can get quite dirty, okay? And bacteria loves dark spaces, okay? Dark, moist, and warm, right? And so I don't want anything of that, okay? So I am going to put this up, heads up. I am going to put it into my basket, all right? And I'm gonna allow it to drip dry. Now, when I go to dry it, I'm gonna make sure I grab it by the stem, and I dry the head, right? And then I put it away like that. I'm not gonna touch it, right? Because that's where your mouth goes, and I want it to remain sanitary. Anytime I do wash anything, a reminder, I always put it upside down so it can drip dry out. All right, so I've got my cutlery, I've got my glassware done, okay? I am now going to grab my cutting board. So the cutting board goes next, but you have to watch, because if you've cut up meat, it's gonna go further down the row. Usually we typically use vegetables that we'll cut up in my class, or at home, I most often use my cutting boards for veg or fruit. And you wanna wash both sides, okay? Because it's been against your countertop might be dirty, you really wanna make sure it's clean, okay? So I'm gonna scrub it really, really well, especially if it's had meat, and then I'm gonna wash it and rinse it in hot water. Okay, so I've done that. Now, what do I do with my knives? Okay, do I put them in my sink? No, okay, we never ever put knives into sinks, okay? Super, super dangerous, because if we put it in the sink and you go down into the water to grab it, you can cut yourself. So whenever we use a knife in class, we always want to make sure that we put it beside the sink, okay? And it's always going to go blade towards the sink, right? And it's gonna stay there until I'm ready to wash it. When I go to wash it, what I'm actually gonna do is I'm going to cover it with my cloth on the dull side of the knife and go down. I never wash up with my knife, okay? If my handle is dirty, I'm gonna cover that as well and again go down, okay? I am then going to rinse it by holding onto it, okay? I'm never gonna leave it alone in my sinks, right? Now, when I've done that, I am not going to put it into my draining rack tip up. I'm gonna put it at the back, okay, of my draining rack, and there it's gonna stay until I dry it. And when you dry it, again, you're gonna wrap around the dull side, always go down, never come back up on it, okay? Okay, so my knives are done, my cutting board's done. The next thing I'm gonna do are bowls, plates, mixing bowls, anything like that, like flatware, basically, okay? So I'm gonna soak these and make sure that I soak them really well, especially if this one's got dough and stuff like that, and then I'll wash it, okay? So I put them in my sink, I'm washing it, okay? And then I put them upside down in my drying rack, okay? Now I have pots and frying pans. What do you guys think is next? It's frying pans, okay? Oh no, sorry, oh my gosh, it's pots. Frying pans are the dirtiest items, okay? So it's pots. So again, pots are typically soaked before you wash them. Pots go next. You do wanna make sure that your pot is cooled down before you wash it, okay? And then you're going to put it upside down to dry. The last items are frying pans, okay? We typically put grease or cook with grease or oil or whatever in frying pans. So frying pans are usually the dirtiest items in your kitchen. And you need to make sure that you allow these to cool down completely before you wash them, okay? Very rarely, if we have like time restraints, will I allow kids to actually cool it down. But if you cool it down, so if you go straight from the stovetop and put it into your sink and you try to cool it down, what'll happen is it'll steam and it'll sputter and it's a huge issue, okay? So please make sure that you guys take care of your pans, because if you don't, so say I was to cool this down all the time, this will warp, okay? And then it's really, really hard to cook on, okay? So this is the last item. After I've finished up, right, I've got all my items washed. They all look beautiful, okay? They're clean, all right? I am going to dry them, or my dish dryer is gonna dry them in the lab, but in your lives, I'm going to dry them and then put them all away, okay? For my sinks, I'm gonna make sure that, again, I twist out my stopper, okay? So I'm not gonna take it all the way out. I'm just gonna twist it and allow the water to drain. And that allows for any food that might be stuck to get into this space right here, and for me to throw that away instead of it going down my sink, okay? All right, after I've done that, I'm then gonna rinse down my sink to make sure that it's clean. There's no bubbles. And the last thing we do anyways in the lab is we spray it down with our Ostro. I recommend that you guys spray it down with some sort of cleaner as well, and that just makes sure that your area is clean, sanitized, and ready for the next go, okay? Remember that anything you guys touch in my lab anyways needs to be sanitized. I would highly recommend you guys do that at home as well, especially during these times. And that's gonna keep your dishwashing process quick, easy, on the go, okay? So again, if you can get your dishes stacked up in that order I just told you guys about, it'll happen lickety-split. And in my lab, it needs to happen lickety-split. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. So interesting, right? Stay cooking. See you next time.